Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
From the new makeshift studio in the shadow of South Central Virginia, this is the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I am your host, Joey Harris. And folks, we are here in our new temporary recording studio. Started a new job in housing, but they are remodeling our current apartment that we're going to be in, or our new apartment that we're going to be in, I should say, and they put us in temporary apartment. So this is the new makeshift studio, but we are back. Good to be back, although no time has changed for you. It's been a few weeks since I've done recordings, even though I've put a show out every week, but it's good to be back. You can follow the show on Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. You can email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. Today, Project 45 continues, and we have landed in the year 2021 with a look at the first event back in front of fans, WrestleMania 37. Shout out to CBSSports.com for the help with the recap. WrestleMania 37 took place on April the 10th and 11th, 2021 from Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. This was the first event streamed exclusively on Peacock in the United States. This was the first WrestleMania since 2002 to not feature John Cena in any capacity, and the first since 2012 not to feature Brock Lesnar. This was also the first WrestleMania since 1988 to not feature at least one of the following as an in-ring competitor: Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, and Triple H, although the latter appeared on the stage at the beginning of Night 1 to welcome fans back. The attendance for Night 1 and 2 was 25,675 each night, for a total of 51,350, although this is disputed. Night 1, open on a shot of the stadium. Vince McMahon is introduced. He is on top of the entrance with the WWE superstars. He welcomes the fans back to live wrestling. He says thank you and welcome to WrestleMania in his old school Vince way. WWE intro. BB Rexha in the ring to sing America the Beautiful, and I have no idea who this person is. We then get a WrestleMania intro. They do have some fun with the cold open. Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan, who are co-hosts for the event, come out. They welcome fans back live and welcome us to WrestleMania. They say we've got 2 nights of WrestleMania, and we're going to start out with the WWE Championship match. Michael Cole welcomes us to WrestleMania. He, Samoa Joe, and Byron Saxton are calling the Raw matches. Flashback to what led up to the match between Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. WWE Championship match. Bobby Lashley with MVP versus Drew McIntyre. A Bobby chant goes out. The bell rings and they lock up. They battle for position. They break. Another lock up and Lashley with the go behind. McIntyre comes back with a wrist lock. Lashley pushes off. Lashley with a shoulder tackle. McIntyre pops right back up. They circle each other. Test of strength. McIntyre with a kick and a wrist lock. McIntyre with a side headlock. Lashley pushes off. McIntyre off the ropes and Lashley leapfrogs him. McIntyre pushes off and hits an overhead belly-to-belly suplex. He then gives Lashley the up yours gesture. Lashley pushes McIntyre away by his face. Back and forth in the center of the ring. Lashley drives McIntyre back to the corner. McIntyre reverses and kicks Lashley in the corner. He then hits a series of forearms to Lashley. Lashley with a throat thrust to McIntyre. Lashley with a series of right hands and forearms. McIntyre reverses an Irish whip. He clotheslines Lashley to the outside. MVP comes over to check on Lashley. McIntyre follows Lashley outside. Lashley drives McIntyre into the barricade. McIntyre starts to come back, and Lashley drives him into the barricade again and again. Lashley throws McIntyre back into the ring. Lashley with a running shoulder charge to McIntyre in the corner. Lashley with a neck breaker. He gets a 1 count. Lashley with a series of right hands to McIntyre. Lashley choking McIntyre on the second rope and hitting him with the elbow strikes at the same time. The referee pulls Lashley off of McIntyre. Lashley goes back to choking McIntyre on the bottom rope by driving his boot into McIntyre's throat back up against the ropes. McIntyre coming back with a series of chops and shots. Lashley drives McIntyre back to a corner. McIntyre moves on the charge and Lashley hits the corner post shoulder first. McIntyre targets that arm and puts Lashley in an armbar. Lashley pounds on McIntyre to release the hold. Lashley slaps McIntyre. Lashley gets McIntyre in the corner and runs his shoulder into McIntyre's midsection. Lashley with a corner whip. McIntyre comes out of the corner with a clothesline. Another clothesline. Lashley reverses an Irish whip. McIntyre ducks a clothesline attempt. McIntyre with another overhead belly-to-belly suplex. McIntyre drives Lashley into a corner and then hits a third suplex. Lashley misses a clothesline and McIntyre hits a neck breaker. McIntyre kips up. The crowd comes to life on that move. McIntyre goes for the future shock DDT, but Lashley pushes him back to the corner. McIntyre gets an elbow up on a Lashley charge in. McIntyre goes for a German suplex, but Lashley blocks it and McIntyre transitions into a Northern Lights suplex for a 2 count. MVP yells at Lashley to focus. McIntyre goes back to working on the arm and Lashley responds with knees to the midsection of McIntyre. Lashley with forearms and he pushes McIntyre off. McIntyre responds with a kick to the face of Lashley. Lashley with a clothesline. He picks McIntyre up in a thrust spine buster and gets a 2 count. Lashley goes for it again, but McIntyre slips out and hits a shoulder block to Lashley. McIntyre rushes Lashley, who chokeslams McIntyre in response. He gets another 2 count. Lashley goes for the hurt lock, but McIntyre is fighting it. Lashley with knees to McIntyre's stomach. Lashley gets McIntyre on his shoulders, but McIntyre is able to punch his way out of it. McIntyre pushes Lashley away. McIntyre charges Lashley, who hits him with a back elbow. McIntyre charges again, and Lashley gets his boots up. McIntyre with some back elbows. McIntyre with some chops and a forearm. McIntyre slams Lashley down face first. He gets a 2 count. McIntyre puts Lashley on the top rope. He then chops Lashley. McIntyre with mounted punches, and Lashley trying to come back. McIntyre with a series of forearms. McIntyre goes for a top rope superplex, but slips and crotches himself. Lashley hitting McIntyre with some forearms. McIntyre grabs the arm and puts the Kimura on. Lashley with punches trying to get out of the move. Lashley punches McIntyre into the Tree of Woe. Lashley stomping McIntyre while still on the top rope, and McIntyre lifts up and throws Lashley off the top rope. McIntyre rushes Lashley, who hits McIntyre with a choke slam. McIntyre kips up again, and the crowd comes to life again. McIntyre says, "Bring it, bitch," and they go back and forth in the middle of the ring. McIntyre with a reversal and another overhead belly-to-belly suplex. McIntyre ducks a clothesline attempt and hits the future shock DDT. McIntyre then hits a second one and then a third one. He gets a close 2 count. A "This is awesome" chant goes out. McIntyre goes for the Claymore kick, but Lashley slips out of the ring to avoid it and confer with MVP. McIntyre with a rolling dive out of the ring into both of them to a big reaction. Back in the ring, McIntyre climbs up top, but Lashley catches him when he comes off and goes for the hurt lock. Lashley knees him in the stomach and does a release German suplex on him. Lashley with an even flow-like move and yells to McIntyre to get up. Lashley goes for the hurt lock. McIntyre is fighting it. McIntyre trying to power out. McIntyre pushes forward and drives Lashley into a corner post. McIntyre rushes Lashley. Lashley goes for the spine buster, but McIntyre rolls through. McIntyre with the Kimura again. Lashley fights through the pain and gets to the ropes. Back and forth in the middle of the ring. McIntyre driven to the corner. Lashley rushes McIntyre and runs into a kick by McIntyre. McIntyre with the Glasgow kiss. McIntyre gets distracted by MVP as he goes for the Claymore, and Lashley ducks it. Lashley with a running punch and gets the hurt lock in. McIntyre fighting it, but he is fading. McIntyre rallies back to his feet. McIntyre gets to the turnbuckle and kicks off, but Lashley doesn't release the hold. McIntyre fading. The referee calls it off, and Lashley retains the WWE Championship. Lashley and MVP celebrating in the center of the ring. They then show a replay of the finish. New WWE Hall of Famers, the NWA, are shown in the back with Titus when they are interrupted by Bayley. She says, "Well, look who it is, the 2 hosts of WrestleMania." She says if they needed help at WrestleMania, that would be too sweet if they know what she is talking about. This is embarrassing. They all blow her off and leave. Tag Team Turmoil match. Lana and Naomi versus Billie Kay and Carmella. They are going to start the match. Corey Graves joins Michael Cole at commentary since this is a SmackDown event. Naomi and Carmella start. The bell rings. Naomi with kicks. Carmella knocked down. Carmella thrown into the corner and Lana tagged in. She bulldogs Carmella. Lana with double knees to Carmella. Carmella fights back and drives Lana down to the mat. Kay tagged in and Carmella runs Lana into Kay's chute. Kay with punches to Lana. Kay with an Irish whip and looks like she is going for a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker but messes it up. Lana with a side Russian leg sweep. Naomi tagged in. She knocks Carmella off of the apron and knocks Kay down. Naomi tags Lana in and then kicks Kay with a reverse kick off the ropes. Lana misses a kick but knocks Kay down and Naomi tagged back in. Double face buster to Kay and Carmella breaks up the pin attempt. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are shown looking on as Naomi throws Carmella out to the apron and gets rolled up by Kay to get pinned with an assist by Carmella for leverage. The Riot Squad, Ruby Riot and Liv Morgan come to the ring. Morgan starts. She knocks Carmella off of the apron and then drop kicks Kay down. Riot tagged in and rolls Kay up for a 2 count. Riot turns Kay into a turnbuckle and tags Morgan back in. Kay backdrops Riot to the outside and hits Morgan with a back elbow. Kay punches Morgan down. Carmella tagged in. She kicks Morgan down in a corner. Carmella then moonwalks out of the corner and the crowd boos. Carmella then with a Bronco Buster to Morgan. Kay tagged back in. Kay with a gut wrench suplex. Carmella with a super kick. Kay with a 2 count, but Riot breaks up the pin attempt. Carmella comes in and throws Riot to the apron. Riot with a knee to Carmella and Kay kicks Riot off of the apron to the floor. Morgan with a waistlock. Kay reverses it and rolls Morgan up and Carmella goes to help her again, but gets caught this time. Morgan with a forearm to Kay. Riot tagged in. Morgan hits double knees to Kay. Riot hits a senton off the top onto Kay and pins her. Carmella comes in and super kicks Morgan. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are the next team and Riot tells them to bring it. Riot knocks Brooke off of the apron, but Rose knocks Riot down. Brooke tagged in. She goes up top and hits a blockbuster on Riot, but Morgan breaks up the pin attempt. Brooke punching Riot. Riot with kicks and a throat thrust to Brooke. Brooke responds with a kick and a spinning neck breaker. She gets a 2 count. Rose tagged in. Rose beating Riot down in the corner. Riot gets her boots up on a charge. Riot tries to tag Morgan in, but Rose intercepts her. Riot rolls Rose up and gets a 2 count. Riot rolls through and tags Morgan in. Morgan with a clothesline and a step up enziguri, and then stomps Rose down. Morgan gets a 2 count. Riot tagged in. Morgan hits double knees to Rose, and Riot hits the Riot kick. Brooke breaks up the tag. Riot throws Brooke to the outside. Morgan tagged in. She and Rose going back and forth in the middle of the ring. Rose with a corner whip, and she drives her shoulder into Morgan in the corner. Riot comes in and Rose suplexes her out of the ring. Morgan goes to the second rope. Rose comes up as well, and they battle on that turnbuckle. Brooke tagged in. Rose superplexes Morgan. Brooke hits a swanton on Morgan. Brooke gets a 2 count, but Morgan gets a reversal to pin Brooke. Natalya and Tamina are the next team out. Natalya in and goes for the sharpshooter right away. Morgan rolls her up for a 2 count. Natalya guillotines Morgan on the top rope. Tamina tagged in. She beats Morgan down in the corner. Natalya tagged back in. She hits a powerbomb on Morgan, but Riot breaks up the pin attempt. Tamina knocks Riot down and out. Natalya drives Morgan into the corner. Tamina tagged in. She hits Morgan with stiff knees to knock her down in the corner. Tamina lifts Morgan up on her shoulders. Morgan grabs the ropes to get off. She beats Tamina off. Morgan knocks Natalya off of the apron when she comes over. Riot tagged in. Morgan jumps when Tamina charges in, and Morgan drives Riot into Tamina. Riot with a running kick to the face, and Morgan tagged back in. Morgan with double knees and Riot again with the senton off of the top rope. Gets a 2 count. Riot tagged back in. She gets her wrist lock on. Tamina with the corner whip and then with a kick to Morgan when she gets in. Tamina goes over to her own corner and kicks Riot away when she comes over. Natalya tagged in. She and Tamina hit a heart attack on Riot. Natalya starts to go for the sharpshooter, but instead tags Tamina back in, and Tamina hits the superfly splash to get the pin. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are still shown looking. WWE COVID vaccine commercial. Seth Rollins versus Cesaro. Flashback to the build-up to the match. The bell rings and Cesaro with an uppercut out of nowhere. He goes for the swing, but Rollins kicks him off. Rollins with a kick to the stomach and goes for a running kick, but Cesaro catches his leg. Cesaro with a dragon screw takedown. Cesaro again goes for the swing, but Rollins gets to the ropes. Rollins gets out on the apron and runs his shoulder into Cesaro. Rollins swings over Cesaro, who comes back with a corkscrew springboard uppercut to Rollins. Rollins rolls to the outside. Cesaro gets him up and slams him into the ropes. Rollins grabs Cesaro's arm and slams it down on the top rope as he jumps off. Rollins goes up top and Cesaro hits him with a top rope dropkick. Cesaro climbs up and goes for the gut-wrench suplex. Rollins slips behind and hits a buckle bomb on Cesaro. Gets a 2 count. Rollins focusing on the shoulder of Cesaro, trying to take the swing away from him. Cesaro trying to come back with European uppercuts. Cesaro rushes Rollins, who backdrops Cesaro out to the apron. Cesaro with a forearm. Cesaro goes up top. Rollins jumps to the rope and hits a superplex and floats through and hits the Falcon Arrow on Cesaro. Gets a 2 count. Rollins goes for a neckbreaker. Cesaro hooks the arms and goes for a backslide. He gets another 2 count. Cesaro with an uppercut. Cesaro with a series of uppercuts and a clothesline to get a 2 count. The crowd signals for Cesaro to swing Rollins. He goes for it and Rollins counters into a roll-up. He gets a 2 count. Cesaro goes for the swing again, but Rollins gets to the ropes. Rollins with a step-up enziguri. Rollins goes for the stomp, but Cesaro picks him out of the air. Cesaro gets the swing and goes 9 times before his arm starts to bother him. Cesaro gets the sharpshooter locked on. Rollins gets to the ropes. Cesaro goes for the neutralizer. Rollins counters into a backdrop, but Cesaro lands on his feet. Cesaro goes for another uppercut, but Rollins moves and Cesaro hits the bad arm on the turnbuckle. Rollins over the ropes and hits Cesaro in the jaw with a knee. Rollins with a sling blade. Rollins goes up top and hits a corkscrew splash and gets a 2 count. Rollins goes for a move that Cesaro counters into the neutralizer. He gets a close 2 count. Cesaro with some uppercuts to Rollins, who reaches the ropes to pull himself up. Cesaro goes for the neutralizer again, and Rollins counters it into the pedigree. Rollins gets a 2 count. He screams at Cesaro that he survived the neutralizer and the swing. Rollins gets Cesaro up for the stomp. Cesaro ducks his head, but Rollins kicks Cesaro in the back of the neck. Rollins goes for the stomp, and Cesaro counters with an uppercut. Cesaro gets Rollins up in the UFO. Cesaro signals for the swing and then spins Rollins around 23 times. Cesaro hits another neutralizer and gets the pin. Cesaro celebrates as the announcers show the replay of the finish. Flashback to the Andre the Giant Battle Royal that Jey Uso won. Kayla Braxton interviews the SmackDown Tag Team Champions Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. Ziggler says there's nothing like WrestleMania now that the two aces have arrived. He says it finally feels like WrestleMania. Roode says for a couple of dirty dogs, they clean up quite nice. Braxton asked them what they think about the New Day challenging Omos and AJ Styles for the Raw Tag Team Championship. Ziggler says New Day is one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Ziggler says even he had Kofi Mania for a minute. He says rainbows and unicorns can only get you so far when you're staring across the ring at AJ Styles and Omos. Roode says he's known AJ a long time, and you never bet against the phenomenal one. They then say that they have to go because the 2020 Hall of Fame class requests pictures with the champs. Raw Tag Team Championship match. The New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods versus AJ Styles and Omos. Big E comes out with Kingston and Woods before going back to the dressing room area. Kingston in first, and he wants Styles to start. Styles comes in. The bell rings and they circle each other. They lock up and Styles with a go behind. Kingston with a single leg takedown. Styles with a head scissors takedown. He follows that up with an Irish whip. Kingston spins over him. Lots of counters between the two in the center of the ring. They trade 1 counts. Styles backdrop face down in the ring. Kingston with a drop kick and another 1 count. Styles with a throat thrust. Styles with an Irish whip. Kingston tags Woods in. Woods trips Styles and drops an elbow on him. Gets a 1 count. Woods screaming at Styles, telling him what they're doing to him and calling him a bad wrestler. It's pretty funny. Kingston tagged back in. He kicks Styles down in the corner. New Day doing the unicorn stomp on Styles in the corner. Kingston then corner whips Woods into Styles. Woods gets a 2 count. Woods with a side headlock into a takeover. Styles gets close to tagging, so Woods takes him over again. Back to their feet, and Styles trying to move Woods closer to Omos so that he can tag him in. Woods moves him back to the center of the ring and takes him down again. He gets another 1 count. Kingston tagged in. Double wrist locks and double chops by the New Day. Double kicks and a double bulldog to Styles. Another 2 count. Styles back up and trying to figure out how to get by Kingston to tag Omos in. Styles rolls out of the ring to go around to tag Omos in, but Woods cuts him off and pushes him back outside the ring. Woods with a running kick to drive Styles back to the barricade. Kingston with a double stomp to Styles from the top rope, and he gets another 2 count. Woods tagged in. He gets Styles up on his shoulders, and Styles trying to get out by elbowing Woods in the head. Styles ducks a clothesline attempt and almost tags Omos in before getting grabbed by the back of his tights by Woods. Woods backdrops Styles, who lands on his feet and crawls through Woods' legs before being cut off again. Styles goes for an enziguri, but Woods ducks and holds on to Styles' leg. Styles kicks Woods off, but he tags Kingston. Kingston hits the springboard crossbody onto Styles and gets a close 2 count. Woods tagged in and goes up top, where Kingston holds Styles. Styles kicks his way out before Woods can jump, and Styles tags Omos in. Woods looks horrified and starts to back away as the crowd comes to life. Woods attacking Omos' legs with kicks trying to knock him down, but they appear not to be having any effect. He then tries a drop kick, but that doesn't have any effect either. Woods running, tags Kingston in, and then hits Omos with a crossbody, but Omos doesn't move, and Woods falls to the mat. Kingston jumps off the top rope, but Omos catches him. Omos just slings Kingston down. Omos screams at the New Day that he has been waiting for this. Omos kicks Woods away and then grabs Kingston and throws him into a turnbuckle. Omos then hits Woods with a charge in the corner. He then hits Kingston with another charge in the opposite corner. Styles yells at Omos to break his neck. Omos picks Woods up and delivers a backbreaker to him. He then goes to put the claw on Woods, who fights it, but Omos finally does get the move on. Woods collapses to the mat. Omos then picks Kingston up and slams him down. Styles then jumps from the top rope off the shoulders of Omos and hits Kingston with a phenomenal forearm. Omos grabs a shaking Kingston and choke slams him down and pins him with 1 foot. New Raw Tag Team Champions. The announcers then show some highlights of the match. Another WWE COVID vaccine ad. Sasha Banks is shown in the back. The steel cage is shown being lowered for the next match. Flashback to what led up to the next match. Steel cage match. Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman. Jerry Lawler is introduced as a special guest commentator. McMahon out first. Then Strowman out. He gets a good reaction. Lawler with some lame Braun Strowman is dumb jokes. As Strowman comes to the door, Elias and Stryker attack him from behind with chairs. Strowman crawls inside the ring, and Elias hands McMahon a chair through the cage door. The bell rings, and McMahon attacks Strowman from behind with the chair. He keeps hitting him from behind with the chair. He goes to hit him in the head, but Strowman grabs the chair. McMahon kicks Strowman's bad leg before he can use the chair. McMahon grabs the chair again and calls for the door to be open. Strowman grabs McMahon and pulls him back in the ring before he can walk out. McMahon then starts to climb out of the cage, but again Strowman grabs him. Strowman screams, "I told you no running. Nowhere to run. You're going to get these hands." McMahon hits Strowman with a series of punches and kicks. McMahon ducks a Strowman shot and then hits and kicks him again. McMahon gets Strowman in the corner and kicks him several times. Then a series of shots to Strowman's midsection until Strowman just pushes McMahon away. McMahon again tries to climb the cage, and again Strowman pulls him down. Strowman grabs McMahon, and McMahon tries to kick Strowman away. McMahon kicks Strowman away, and then McMahon rips a piece of steel metal off the top of the cage. He starts to attack Strowman with it. He hits Strowman in the head to try to knock him down. McMahon rushes for the cage door, but Strowman grabs him by the leg before he can get out. McMahon grabs the ropes, but Strowman just flings him back to the center of the cage. Strowman then throws McMahon back into the cage. He then does it again. Strowman then kicks McMahon in the stomach. McMahon gets up, and Strowman attacks him again. McMahon then up on the apron between the ropes and the cage. Strowman rushes him and squashes him against the cage. Strowman grabs McMahon and hits a big forearm to the chest. Strowman tries to get McMahon up for the running power slam, but his bad leg gives out and McMahon pushes off. McMahon keeps ramming Strowman into the cage. McMahon hits a DDT. McMahon gets Strowman down and climbs to the top rope and hits a coast-to-coast on Strowman. McMahon gets a 2 count. Elias and Riker are back and start climbing the cage to get in. They grab McMahon by the arms to help him out of the cage. Strowman runs and hits the cage to knock Elias and Riker off of the cage. McMahon falls from the top back into the cage. McMahon tries to climb the cage again, but Strowman grabs him. McMahon gets to the top of the cage, and Strowman trying to stop him from climbing over. There's a bag up there. McMahon pulls out a toolbox from it and hits Strowman with it, and Strowman falls back inside the cage. McMahon starts to taunt Strowman as he climbs to the outside, and Strowman grabs his hand through the cage. Strowman starts to peel apart the cage and drag McMahon through it. Strowman bashing McMahon against the cage and punching him in the midsection over and over. Strowman puts McMahon on top of the cage and then climbs up there himself. Strowman stands on top of the cage, grabs McMahon and screams, "I told you. Who's stupid now?" He then throws McMahon off the top of the cage back into the ring. Strowman climbs down into the ring. He picks McMahon up and hits a running power slam to pin McMahon. The announcers recap the match. Byron, Cole, and Samoa Joe talk about the 2020 Hall of Fame being recognized when they are interrupted by Bayley. She then introduces the highlight package. William Shatner, JBL, the British Bulldog, the Bella Twins, Warrior Award winner Titus O'Neil, Jushin Liger, and the NWO are your inductees. WrestleMania 38 announced for Texas. Booker T is announced as a special guest commentator for the next match. A group of people dressed as Bunny come down to ringside. They get in the ring and jump around. Miz and John Morrison versus Damian Priest and Bad Bunny. A feature on Bad Bunny and how this match came about. Priest out to a great ovation. Bad Bunny shown coming to the stadium on the back of a semi-trailer. He gets a great reaction from the crowd. The bell rings. Miz wants Bad Bunny to start and tells him that he's scared. Bad Bunny tagged in. Miz taunting Bad Bunny, daring him to hit him. He taunts Priest and turns around, and Bad Bunny drops Miz with the right hand. Miz goes to lock up, and Bad Bunny with the go behind. Miz goes for a back elbow, but Bad Bunny ducks and hits Miz with another right hand. Miz drives Bad Bunny to the corner and goes for a big right hand, but Bad Bunny ducks and hits some body shots to Miz. Miz throws Bad Bunny into the corner and starts choking him on the top rope. He stops and Bad Bunny hits him with a double leg takedown in the middle of the ring. Miz comes back with a knee to the midsection and some kicks to knock Bad Bunny down. Miz with stomps and forearms to the fallen Bad Bunny. Miz runs Bad Bunny into a turnbuckle. He then runs Bad Bunny face first along the top rope. Miz with an Irish whip and a hip toss. Bad Bunny lands on his feet and arm drags Miz to the outside of the ring. The Miz is stunned. Miz gets back in and Bad Bunny gets a drop toe hold on him. Bad Bunny with a roll up for a 2 count. Miz comes over for a pep talk from Morrison. Bad Bunny taunts Miz. Miz goes Bad Bunny in for a test of strength and then kicks Bad Bunny. Miz with a forearm to the back. Miz throws Bad Bunny into the ropes and he slides out to the apron and to the ground. Miz then goes over and taunts Priest. Miz rushes Bad Bunny, who runs his shoulder into Miz. He then slides under Miz's legs. He ducks a Miz clothesline attempt and does a flying head scissors to Miz. Morrison tags in. Bad Bunny kicks Morrison in the stomach and headbutts him. Bad Bunny with a back elbow to Morrison in the corner. Morrison catches Bad Bunny with a back elbow when he tries it again. While Morrison has the referee distracted, Miz hits Bad Bunny with a cheap shot. Miz tagged in. He hits Bad Bunny with a running kick to the head. Miz then taunts Priest. Miz drops down on Bad Bunny to stop him from going for the tag. Miz with a rear chin lock. Miz runs Bad Bunny into the heels corner and goes to hit him, but Bad Bunny blocks the shot and hits Miz. Bad Bunny hitting both Miz and Morrison to try to get out of the corner. Miz cuts Bad Bunny off from making the tag, but Bad Bunny turns it into a sunset flip attempt. He gets a 2 count. Miz with the big kick to knock Bad Bunny down. Miz with the DDT. Miz drags Bad Bunny back to the corner by his hair. He kicks Bad Bunny to the outside of the ring. Morrison runs Bad Bunny into the announce desk. He throws Bad Bunny back into the ring. Morrison tagged in. Morrison kicking Bad Bunny while he is down. Morrison mocks Booker with a spinneroonie and then Priest. Miz tagged back in. Miz punches Bad Bunny in the stomach. Miz goes Priest in and then attacks Bad Bunny as Priest is cut off by the referee. Miz grabs Bad Bunny and runs him into a turnbuckle. He kicks Bad Bunny as a Let's Go Bunny chant goes out. Miz choking Bad Bunny up on the ropes and finally breaks at the 4 count. Bad Bunny gets his boot up on a Miz charge and then hits Morrison when he comes over. Bad Bunny with a tornado DDT to Miz off of the ropes. Both men down and the crowd trying to motivate Bad Bunny into making a tag. Miz tries to stop the tag, but Bad Bunny dives and tags Priest in. Priest hits Miz and then drags Morrison in. Miz misses a kick and Priest hits him with a kick to the side of the head. Priest with a spinning heel kick. Priest with a series of kicks to Miz and Morrison. A clothesline to Morrison. Running back elbows to Morrison and Miz in opposite corners. Priest suplexes Miz into Morrison. Priest hits a South of Heaven chokeslam on Miz, but Morrison breaks up the cover. Priest comes in and he and Morrison start fighting. Bad Bunny and Priest with stereo Falcon arrows, but Morrison and Miz both kick out at 2. The heels slide outside, and Bad Bunny Irish whips Priest so he can hit a dive on them on the outside. Bad Bunny then goes up to the top rope and hits a crossbody to Miz and Morrison, and the crowd goes crazy for the move. Back in the ring, Miz blocks a move and hits a SCF, but Bad Bunny breaks up the pin attempt. A bunny chant goes out. Priest kicks Miz off of him and goes to tag, but Morrison pulls Bad Bunny off of the apron. Bad Bunny hits sort of a reverse Canadian destroyer to Morrison on the outside, and the crowd can't believe it. Miz rushes Priest, who kicks Miz down. Priest pulls Miz on his shoulders and tags Bad Bunny in. Bad Bunny with a crossbody to Miz and pins Miz. The crowd loves it. Priest and Bad Bunny celebrate afterwards. WWE Championship replicas ad. Recap of the WWE Championship match. Preview of Night 2 of WrestleMania. And finally a flashback to what has led up to the main event. WWE SmackDown Women's Championship match. Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. Belair out first to a fantastic ovation. Banks out looking serious. Dueling EST Let's Go Sasha chants go out. The bell rings and Belair looking very emotional. The crowd stands up and cheers her. They circle each other. They lock up. They back to a corner and break clean. Another lock up and Banks pushes Belair down. Belair nips up and they both say that they are the best. Belair pushes Banks away. Banks then pushes Belair back. They take turns pushing each other. Banks pushes off. Belair cartwheels and catches Banks. Banks tries to reverse into a sunset flip. Belair tries to flip onto Banks, but Banks moves out of the way. They taunt each other. Banks with a go behind and a rear chin lock. Belair with a snapmare to get out of the move. Belair gets Banks up in a fireman's carry, but Banks slips out of the hold. They trash talk each other. Banks kicks Belair in the stomach, then a forearm to Belair. Banks rushes Belair, who catches Banks and lifts her up, but Banks rolls out of the move and pushes Belair outside to the floor. Banks with a baseball slide to Belair when she tries to get in the ring. Belair gets up on the apron and blocks a right hand by Banks when she tries to stop her from getting in. Belair grabs Banks as if to drag her out, but Belair guillotines Banks on the top rope. In response, Banks drives Belair into the ring post and Belair falls to the outside. The referee starts counting Belair and Banks hits her with a suicide dive. Belair rolls through and picks Banks up to the roar of the crowd and the unbelief of the announcers. Belair presses Banks over her head, walks up the ring steps, and dumps Banks back inside the ring. Banks ducks a clothesline and hits Belair with a drop kick as an EST chant goes out. Banks gets a 1 count. Belair with a running shoulder tackle, and Belair tells Banks to get up. Belair lifts Banks up, yells that she is the EST, and slams Banks down. Belair with a moonsault off of the ropes. Banks blocks it and grabs Belair by the hair. Banks with a series of kicks to Belair and then hits Belair with a running kick. Gets a 2 count. Banks gets on top of Belair and starts punching her. Belair covering up. She pushes Belair's arms down and gets a 1 count. Belair backs off, but Banks gets her into a corner and goes to choke her with her boot. The referee pulls her away after a 4 count. Banks throws Belair into another corner. Banks snaps Belair out of the corner and applies a rear chin lock into a submission. Banks reverses a corner whip. Belair flips Banks to the outside when she charges in. Banks with a knee to the jaw of Belair. Banks goes for the double knees. Belair intercepts and chokeslams Banks down hard on the mat. Banks rolls out, grabs the long braid of Belair again, and they are on opposite sides of the ring steps, and Banks pulling the braid through the corner of the ring. Belair pulls the other side of the braid and runs Banks shoulder first into the ring post. Belair up against the barricade. Banks goes for running knees to Belair, who moves, and Banks hits the barricade. Double count going. Both women back in at 8. Inside cradle into a vertical suplex by Belair. She slingshots Banks into 2 ropes. Banks trying to reverse, but each time Belair pushes her back to a vertical hold. Banks tries to fight back with punches, but Belair completes the suplex. Both wrestlers down on the mat. A double count going. Both wrestlers grab each other and struggle to their feet. Banks with a slap to knock Belair to 1 knee. Banks goes up top for the arm drag, but Belair hangs on. They both have the braid, and Belair uses it to clothesline Banks. Belair with a series of shoulder tackles. Then a drop kick to Banks. Belair with a kip up. Belair hits a standing shooting star press. Belair with a running shoulder in to Banks in the corner. The referee pulls Belair back after a 3 count. Banks kicks Belair and rushes her. Belair picks Banks up and slams her down face first. Belair goes up top and comes off with a 450 splash, but Banks gets her knees up. Both wrestlers down again. Belair gets Banks' shoulders down for a 2 count. Banks with a backslide. Gets a 2 count. Banks kicks Belair. Banks runs at Belair, who catches Banks and powerbombs her. She then lifts her up and powerbombs her again. She gets a 2 count. Belair goes for a 3rd one, and Banks counters with a facebuster. Banks kicking Belair down in the corner. Banks hits a tornado DDT off of the ropes. She gets a 2 count. Banks goes up top. She hits a splash for a 2 count. Belair goes out to the apron, and Banks drapes the arm of Belair over the bottom rope and pulls back. Belair is hurting. It goes outside. Banks runs Belair into the ring steps. Banks throws Belair back in the ring. She screams it's boss time to the announcers. Banks goes for the Banks statement using Belair's hair braid. Belair fighting to get to the ropes. Banks rolls her back to the center of the ring, but Belair rolls back and reaches the ropes. Banks wraps the braid around the rope and starts stomping Belair in the head for a 4 count. Belair puts Banks on the top rope, and Banks pushes Belair off. Belair rushes Banks to kick her, but Banks grabs the legs and gets Belair in the Tree of Woe. Banks stomping on Belair's knee. Banks jumps off and rolls through. She goes to deliver running knees to Belair, who lifts herself up, and Banks hits the corner post. Belair hits the 450 splash and gets another 2 count. Belair can't believe it. Belair lifts Banks up. It looks like she's going for the KOD, but Banks lands on her feet and grabs the braid again. Belair pulls it away and whips Banks with it. Belair goes for the KOD. Banks tries to counter with the backstabber, but Belair is too strong. Belair gets the KOD and pins Banks. The crowd goes crazy. Belair's family is shown celebrating at ringside. Fireworks go off as they sign off from Night 1. Night 2. Intro. Ashlyn Kraft sings America the Beautiful, and again, I have no idea who this is. WrestleMania intro. Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan welcome us to Night 2 of WrestleMania. They come out dressed as pirates. Flashback to what led up to the match between The Fiend and Randy Orton. The Fiend Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. Before the match, The Fiend was shown burning and returning to his original form, no longer appearing burned. Alexa Bliss cranked a giant jack-in-the-box next to the ring before The Fiend emerged. I don't like the red light. The Fiend dove off of the box, nailing Orton with a clothesline and then hitting a Uranagi suplex. Orton attacked The Fiend on the outside of the ring, dropping him on the announce table, but his offense had no effect before The Fiend locked in the mandible claw. Orton escaped back into the ring and hit the hanging DDT, again to no effect as The Fiend came back to continue his assault. After sending The Fiend face first onto the box, Orton finally was able to start doing some damage. As Orton built momentum, He tried to hit the RKO, but The Fiend countered into the mandible claw. The Fiend attempted to hit Sister Abigail, but fired a shot from the ring post, and The Fiend looked at Alexa Bliss, who was seating on the box with black goo shooting down her face. The distraction allowed Orton to hit the RKO and score the pinfall victory. After the match, The Fiend stared down Bliss before the lights went out. When the lights came back, both had disappeared. This was very odd all around. The pre-match spectacle of The Fiend's entrance was great, but the match itself didn't really do much before the sudden, very odd ending. It was a stupid ending, and they wasted Bray Wyatt and The Fiend both. You should not be losing to Randy Orton at WrestleMania. WWE Championship ad. Titus and Hulk are talking to Eric Bischoff and get interrupted by Bayley. Hulk and Bischoff bail, and then Titus leaves. Daniel Bryan shown getting ready in the back. Women's Tag Team Championship. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Natalya and Tamina. Natalya was able to go hold for hold with Baszler early, leading to Jax tagging in. Jax called for Tamina, who took the tag from Natalya. Jax and Tamina traded headbutts before Tamina tried for a body slam, but Jax was able to counter before getting floored with a tandem backdrop. The challengers continued their hot start, isolating Baszler through a series of tags, leading to a near fall when Natalya hit a slingshot into a Tamina superkick. Baszler was able to hit a knee to Natalya's face to finally take over the match, going to work on Natalya's knee after putting her down. Jax was in for a moment and tried to lock in a stretched muffler, but Natalya attempted to counter into an armbar before she ate another knee from Baszler. Jax hit Natalya with the one-arm spine buster before Tamina made the save. Tamina got the hot tag and took the fight to Baszler, getting the upper hand before Baszler took her out on the top rope. Jax came off the second rope with a double crossbody to the challengers for a near fall on Tamina. After absorbing some insults from Jax, Tamina finally managed to hit a body slam on the bigger woman. Tamina came off the top rope with a splash, but Jax was able to move out of the way. Natalya tagged in and locked Jax into the sharpshooter, but Baszler was the legal woman in the match. Baszler slid in and locked in the Kirifuda clutch to score the win. A perfectly good tag match with no real tough spots, other than Tamina's slam of Jax not really hitting the way it was intended. Baszler should be a bigger star than she is. I've never been impressed with Nia Jax. There was too much time spent on Tamina and Jax. Baszler and Natalya made the match. Flashback to what led to Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. JBL introduced as a special guest commentator. Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Owens has won me over as a fan with his work. A fired up Owens hit a pop-up powerbomb just seconds into the match, but Zayn rolled out of the ring. Owens looked to powerbomb Zayn into the ring apron, calling back to their feud in NXT, but Zayn was able to escape back into the ring, where he was met by more offense from Owens, with a cannonball into the corner. Zayn was eventually able to hit a brainbuster on the apron to finally get some offense flowing, looking to Logan Paul at ringside for approval before hitting a Michinoku driver for a near fall. Owens fought back on the top rope, knocking Zayn to the mat and hitting a frog splash for his own 2 count. Owens tried for the package pile driver. Zayn countered another big move from Owens, avoiding a stunner to hit the Blue Thunder Bomb. Zayn then went on a flurry of suplexes before a brainbuster for yet another near fall. As Owens came back with the superplex and a series of clotheslines in the corner, Zayn countered into a hell of a kick, but Owens came back with a pair of super kicks and a stunner for the 3 count. After the match, Paul tried to shake Owens' hand, but Zayn got angry, claiming Paul was his guest of honor, leading Paul to shove him into the floor and raise Owens' hand. The crowd booed Paul and immediately began cheering when it became clear that the inevitable stunner was incoming. Owens delivered by dropping Paul. This was an excellent match between guys with a lot of history and the chemistry that comes with it. The Logan Paul business was what it was. At least he ate a stunner. This was the match of the night so far. Matt Riddle and the Great Khali are shown in the back. They're joined by RVD. And I just don't get Riddle. WWE COVID-19 vaccine ad. United States Championship. Riddle versus Sheamus. Flashback to how the match came about. Sheamus got off to a fast start, trying to work the arm of Riddle before resorting to a punch to the stomach and stomp of the head after Riddle mounted an early comeback. Sheamus continued this physicality with clubbing forearms, but Riddle came back with a huge flipping belly-to-belly suplex from the top rope. That was a nice move. Riddle flurried with strikes and hit the Pele kick into an exploder suplex and senton as he made his big comeback. Riddle hit a jackhammer for a near fall and a subtle call out to Goldberg. The match seems clunky at times, and I don't know if it's just a clash of styles. Sheamus finally cut off Riddle's offense with a big knee as Riddle flipped over the top rope and followed up with an Alabama slam for a near fall. The big moves kept coming, with Riddle hitting a twisting springboard moonsault to the outside before finally slowing things down a bit with an armbar attempt, which Sheamus was able to counter into a powerbomb. The second bitch botch of the night came when Sheamus slipped from the top rope as he was trying to hit White Noise. That was a clunky moment. After a diving knee, Sheamus scored a near fall and then set up for the brogue kick, but Riddle countered and tried to hit a springboard moonsault, but was caught by a mid-air brogue kick by Sheamus for the pin. This was a surprisingly sloppy match. There were multiple botches throughout, and the final brogue kick caught Riddle square in the mouth, drawing a good amount of blood. Despite the issues, the bulk of the match was a solid, hard-hitting affair. That was a nice ending sequence that surprised me. WWE Championship ad. Intercontinental Championship. Big E versus Apollo Crews. Nigerian drum fight. Flashback to how the match came about. Wale performs Feel the Power before the match. Big E gets a tremendous reaction when he comes out. Big E immediately went to work with the kendo stick, wearing out the ribs of Crews before sending him crashing into some of the drums at ringside. Crews managed to get his hands on the kendo stick for a bit of retaliation before Big E hit the spear through the ropes to the floor. Big E tried to set up some of the ring steps, allowing Crews to get back into the match, eventually trying to drop the steps on Big E. Big E was able to move and hit a Uranagi suplex from the ring apron onto the steps set up on the outside. Crews fired up and came back with a flurry of shots with a kendo stick, but missed when trying to hit a splash on Big E from the top rope through a table. Big E hit the big ending and was seemingly on his way to retaining the title, but Daba Kato ran in and took out Big E, hitting a chokeslam and placing Crews on top for the 3 count. This was short, but very brutal. Every bit of offense was heavy and meaningful before the Daba Kato run in. The only big knock here is that the announcers act as though they'd never seen Kato, despite him being a fixture on Raw Underground in 2020 and someone selected in the draft. That was a shocking ending. Recap of Night 1 of WrestleMania. Replay of the WrestleMania 38 announcement. 2021 WWE Hall of Fame ceremony recap. RVD, Molly Holly, The Great Khali, Ozzy Osbourne, Warrior Award recipient Rich Herring, Eric Bischoff, and Kane are the members of the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame members are then introduced. A look at Asuka and Rhea Ripley and the lead up to their match. They perform Ripley's theme live. Raw Women's Championship, Asuka versus Rhea Ripley. Asuka is fired up and ready to start. The crowd loves Asuka. Dueling Let's Go Asuka, Let's Go Rhea chants go out. Asuka hit a drop kick and flurried with strikes before trying for a quick roll up and then backslide, neither even getting to a 1 count. Ripley hit a chop but was sent into the turnbuckle, which Asuka then kicked into her face. Ripley battled through the continued knees and kicks of Asuka before Asuka missed with a hip attack, allowing Ripley to start grinding away. Ripley hit a series of short-arm clotheslines before Asuka caught a kick and turned it into a leg lock. Ripley was able to muscle out of the hold to hit a German suplex for a near fall. Ripley took Asuka to the top rope, but Asuka was able to fire off a series of elbows to set up a missile drop kick. Asuka hit her own German suplex and a hip attack before a flurry of kicks to set up another hip attack. Ripley got a reprieve from Asuka's attack after drop kicking the champion from the top rope to the outside and then driving Asuka from her shoulders into the ring apron. Asuka was able to drive Ripley into the floor with a DDT from the apron and tried for an armbar back inside, continuing to go back to the arm of the powerhouse. Ripley countered an Asuka lock into a pin, forcing Asuka to break the hold. Second later, Ripley was able to hit Riptide after ducking a kick to win the title. A good enough match, but not quite to the level of Asuka's best, and certainly not on the level of Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks from night one. The crowd loved Rhea's win. Another COVID vaccine commercial. Recap of what has happened between The Fiend and Randy Orton. Titus and Hulk out again to thank everyone watching and the fans at Raymond James Stadium. Bayley comes out again. She says she's been carrying WrestleMania on her back for 2 nights. She gets interrupted by the Bella twins. She tells them John Cena is not here tonight. Oh, snap. And they attack her. WWE Network commercial. Flashback to how the main event came about. Universal Championship. Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan. Reigns went right at Bryan, landing a right hand before Edge jumped on the champion. The action quickly spilled out to the floor with Reigns trying to set up the announce table for violence, but Bryan landed a suicide dive. Jey Uso took out Bryan with a super kick, and Edge took out Reigns to be the only man standing amid the chaos. Edge took out Uso with a DDT on the ring steps, taking away Reigns' ace in the hole. Edge and Bryan went at it in the ring before Reigns grabbed Edge from the apron. Bryan slid between the legs of both men and drove Reigns face first into the edge of the ring before a flurry of offense on Edge. Bryan tried to hit Reigns with another suicide dive, but was caught and dumped on the floor by the champion. Edge countered a Reigns Superman punch with a DDT before setting up for a spear. Reigns hit his own counter, drilling Edge with a Superman punch and setting up for his own spear, but Edge countered with a sunset flip before the men hit spears simultaneously. This allowed Bryan to get back in the match with diving headbutts on both men before near fall on Reigns. Bryan hit both men with yes kicks before running knee to Edge and a kick to Reigns' head for another near fall. Bryan's hot run continued as he locked Reigns in the yes lock until Edge broke the hold. Bryan responded by putting Edge in the same hold, this time with Reigns making the save. Reigns pummeled Bryan before taking him to the outside and powerbombing Bryan through the announce table. As Bryan was laid out, Edge drove through Reigns with a spear. Reigns and Edge ended up back in the ring, with Reigns ripping a chair away from Edge. Edge responded by taking Reigns to the ground and locking in a crossface, then grabbing a piece of the now broken chair and putting it in Reigns' mouth to pull back on the hold. As Reigns was about to tap, Bryan caught his hand and locked in the yes lock. Bryan and Edge traded headbutts, both holding Reigns in their respective holds before they broke, and Bryan unleashed a flurry of strikes. Bryan went for the running knee on Edge, but was hit by a spear before Edge hit Reigns with a spear. But Bryan pulled the referee from the ring before the 3 count. Edge snapped and attacked with a steel chair before looking to hit both opponents with the concerto. He managed to hit Bryan with the move, but Uso ran to the ring to attack Edge before getting speared. Reigns got back to his feet, took out Edge with a spear, and hit his own concerto, placing Edge on top of Bryan and pinning both men to retain the title. A thriller in the main event with all 3 men delivering in a wild match. All 3 men had believable moments where they had the match won, and the double submission spot was especially good. For the second night, WrestleMania had a truly worthy main event. I would have preferred Reigns versus Edge, Reigns versus Bryan, or Bryan versus Edge to this, but your mileage may vary. Hate is not a strong enough word for how I feel about those quick cuts, though. Final thoughts. Good show. It's too long, though, even stretched out over both nights. It's a good show to watch for the fact that it's the first show back in front of fans. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. I would really appreciate it. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.